My name is William Fisher. I'm with Loflin Concrete, Technical Services and Operations. Another beautiful day in the Piedmont Triad. Sun's out, shining. Today we're going to take a little deep dive into some common questions and some misperceptions. Just try to kind of give some informative information on concrete. Some of this stuff is just real bad rumors. We're going to try to dispel those. And some of it just for informational purposes, something that will be good for you to use in your concrete future. So come along for the ride. Well, folks, one of the questions I get or hear a lot on TV and just various informational channels is that truck right there. A lot of people are misinformed. They call it a cement mixer. Folks, it's a concrete mixer. Cement is just a part of concrete. The analogy I like to use is bread. Flour is the main component, but we don't call it flour. We call it bread. Flour is just a part of bread. Cement is just a part of concrete. And so when you hear someone saying, hey, I see a cement mixer going down the road, you can very politely tell them that's not correct. It's a concrete mixer. What we're gonna do is just get a sample off this truck, a concrete sample, and talk about what is concrete and what is it comprised of as far as the ingredients. Our normal process is to pull them under the plant, load our plants. We're gonna load the truck. We can load the truck in about 3 minutes time flat. After the truck is loaded, the tickets drop down from our dispatch office up top. Drivers come out. It's their job to get the slump right, wash down, make sure there's no excess material on the outside of the truck and get it road ready to take it from point A to point B, our customer. Also, part of this mixing process, because this plant is a dry batch plant, we gotta make sure we get at least 75 turns or revolutions with the drum. The great thing about these trucks here, our mixers are equipped. We have a electronic console that tells the driver what slump he has, the air content, and the number of revolutions where there's no guesswork. It's just factual data. We done procured our sample off the truck. Obviously in this wheelbarrow, we got probably a 1/4 cubic feet of concrete. What is concrete? What is it comprised of? This particular mix here, concrete is probably comprised of 50 to 75% coarse and fine aggregate. So obviously the fine aggregate would be sand. The coarse aggregate would be obviously the rock. This customer had us add some macro fiber to the concrete mix. Macro fibers in the mix to help control cracking and also to be used for slight reinforcement. One of the properties that we check for, folks, is the air content. If it's exterior concrete, we gotta entrain air in it to make sure that we don't have any issues when we get cold weather or freeze thaw. We also have to check it for slump. How wet, what's the flowability of the concrete itself? I've been doing this for a minute, so I can just tell you, looking at this, we probably got about a 5-inch slump. The higher the number, the wetter the concrete. The lower the number, obviously, the drier the concrete. I'm gonna call this a 5. We have a slump cone test that we do to perform that, but I've been doing this for a long time. I can tell you, that's a 5-inch slump. This is actually good mud. All right, folks, in my travels in the concrete world, been doing it for a little over 29 years. There's things that I almost call them zombie, just misperceptions. They just never die. One of the things I hear often is concrete doesn't crack, or it shouldn't crack. Folks, that's a zombie lie. All concrete cracks. It's your job, our job, the finisher's job, primary job, to catch the cracks, control where the cracks happen. When that's done by a professional, it's aesthetically pleasing, you'll never notice it. When it's not done in a timely manner, all kinds of ugly things can happen. Let's look at a couple of cracks and try to describe the different cracks and what causes them, and then what can we do to prevent them. This is probably the most common call I get as far as residential and cracking/crazing. This would be called plastic shrinkage cracking, map cracking. It's a common phenomenon. There's a lot of factors that contribute to this, but they pour with certain weather conditions or certain conditions. This has a chance to happen. Plastic shrinkage cracking, map cracking, normally comes from 3 factors. Concrete losing moisture pretty expediently, low humidity in the atmosphere, and high wind or high velocity. There are precautions you can take to prevent this from happening, and we'll go into details on what to do to prevent this phenomenon. One of the important aspects, obviously, concrete gains strength through a process called hydration. Hydration is water and the cement, and as that hydrates or produces heat, the concrete gains strength. It can be rapid, it can be measured, metered, or it can be slow. But really, that is determined by your finisher. And the finisher is an experienced person. He would know that, hey, I need to do something. I'm losing moisture off the top layer of this concrete. I got to get moisture back on the top of this concrete. If not, we're gonna get plastic shrinkage cracking. There's ways to do that, folks. To properly cure concrete, you need to either have burlap, soaked, saturated to cover what you put on the ground, a fogger, and we use foggers really, that's probably my technique that I would recommend. If you ever see someone doing a bridge deck or a bridge deck being poured, you notice that they have a big yellow bid well or screed, and you see just layers and layers of burlap and foggers. If those pieces of equipment are not there, that bridge deck is not getting poured that day. It's important to keep that water on the top of the slab so we can have a perfect slab, a perfect concrete pour. That moisture needs to be maintained at minimum 7 days. A couple of common myths. Here's one: concrete dries. Folks, that's not real. Concrete cures out. It cures. Curing is how concrete gains its strength. It does not dry out. If your concrete's drying out, it's not concrete, it's just mud, period. Concrete cures. That's part of the process to get the strength and for you to use it in the utility that you plan on using it for. All right, folks, we get a lot of questions about concrete, and here's one that we get a lot of. Does concrete continue to gain strength? And the answer is, without a constant presence of water, it will not. Analogy would be any major dam that you see erected across the country. Even though they're hard and they're in action and in service, those dams, because there is a constant source of water, they're still gaining strength. Maybe a PSI per year, but because water is constantly on them, they're gaining strength. Your driveway, if you were able to keep a constant stream of water on top of it, it will continue to gain strength. So yeah, for concrete to gain strength, water has to be present. And folks, I know I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite, but I gotta tell you this because it's very important. Concrete has high alkalinity. With that being said, you take every safety precaution you can to protect any exposed skin, eyes, or whatever. Because it's very alkaline heavy, the burns, and it will happen, they'll come from the inside out. And so anytime you're working around concrete, make sure you're using PPE, the proper PPE, so you can protect yourself. Folks, sometimes concrete has some bad things that happens to it. Two of the real detrimental effects are what we call a false set and a flash set. One, we could probably bring the concrete back to life. The other, my advice, that concrete needs to be sent out. The first one would be a false set. False set is where we load the concrete, 5, 6 inch slump, whatever the customer orders. Concrete gets to the job site and all of a sudden it's not as wet or the slump has disappeared. No problem. You can add water back to it just as long as you don't exceed the water cement ratio. And if the concrete takes it, which it should, you can bring it back to life, pour it out, no problem. The bad part of this situation would be a flash set. Flash set, same deal. Concrete leaves the plant, 5, 6 inch slump, gets to the job site, it's a 3 or 4. You add water to it and the water's not doing anything to increase the slump. If you do it 2 or 3 times, you're gonna put 10, 15 gallons of water in and the concrete's still tight, low slump, we're probably going through a flash set phenomenon. If that's the case, my advice, send that concrete out. If it's on our end, we will replace it, no questions asked. Another misperception or zombie thing that I hear a lot is, man, I don't want to use concrete because it only comes in gray. I mean, I don't have an option of using different colors. Folks, behind me is our coloring machine by Increte. We can produce hundreds of different colors of concrete. We have Salesforce, they got readily available color charts. All you gotta do is give them a shout, give them a call, and we can match up to provide you what you need. All right, folks, another question we get often is, how is concrete measured? It is measured by the cubic yard, 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet, or 27 cubic feet. We sell concrete, and pretty much most suppliers sell concrete by the cubic yard, and we can sell it up to 1/4 or 0.25 increments past 1 yard. So 27 cubic feet, 3 by 3 by 3, that's how concrete is measured. You call us, you don't know how much concrete you need, just give us the measurements. We'll give you the total of what you need and look forward to bringing it to you. The most important part, and this is what you, the customer, is paying for, is the strength of the concrete. We sell it by the strength. We sell it by the cubic yard, but obviously the strength is the main thing. Customers want it, they need it. We guarantee most of our mixes, or most of the strength, is achievable by 28 days. Most of our mixes, you will see that number there, or that strength, or F/C, in 14, sometimes even 7 days, depending on what type of admixture you use and the strength that you're asking for. How's it checked? By a job site, commercial job, there's normally an outside lab. They're casting cylinders, 4x8, 6x12 cylinders, taking a sample off the truck, and then they cure it for 1 to 2 days. It's taken to a lab, it's then moisture cured in the lab, and then we get breaks at 7 days, sometimes 3 days, depending on what the owner of the building or structure wants. And then there's a 7-day break, and there's a 28-day break, which will be the average of 2 6x12 cylinders or 3 4x8 cylinders. We are paid by that 28-day strength number in most cases. So customer orders 4,000, we need to be at minimum 4,000 PSI in 28 days. That's how we are paid. That validates the structure, validates the concrete that's in place, and everyone leaves happy. Well, folks, I hope the information provided today was informative, and I hope you learned something. If you have further questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below. And don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, Loflin Concrete, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.